All right, everyone, welcome back. This is going to be Lecture 23, Models for Research on Decision-Making Processes. And so this is going to be sort of a grand scale discussion of how do we conceptualize the policymaking process, right? Phase, stream, round, track. There's a multitude of approaches, and you'll notice they all sort of build on each other over time, and while there are criticisms and discussions, it is sort of, I guess, an evolution of the research paradigm, right? Political science and this policy stuff really didn't even start until the 1940s, and so it's not even 100 years old as a discipline, right? And so we're testing out and trying new things. All right, so this chapter 23 is by Geert Tijsman and Arwen van Buren. I would also, I guess I should point out, you'll notice these are a lot of Euro names. A lot of the policy stuff is driven by the European researchers. So there are American researchers, and we've talked about American politics, but a lot of this stuff is being sort of built off the back of European parliamentarism or coalition politics or sort of the pseudo-federalism they have in some of those places, etc. All right. Section 23.1, Models for the Reconstruction of Decision-Making. And so this chapter focuses not on sort of what decisions are being made or how they're made, etc., but rather on sort of the networking and the process of policymaking and, is it linear? Is it, both ways, causality? Is it simultaneous? All of these different things, right? All right, and they have two main questions they want to discuss here. Basically, number one, what assumptions are being made with respect to chains of activities in decision making, right? And we've got a lot of ways of looking at this about sort of the timing, about simultaneity, about sort of discussions between policymakers, all these things. So we have, they break this down into four subcategories. We have the strands of activities that are taking place, the typologies of decision making, right? And we've discussed some of those before with rationality, bounded rationality, heuristics, all of these sorts of things. The elements of the process itself, right? So this is going to be maybe institutional stuff. What are the rules? What are the veto points? All of these sorts of things. And then finally, indicators of what is progress in decision making, right? And so, what does the informational feedback loop and all this kind of stuff look like? Okay. The second question they ask is what sort of assumptions are being made with respect to simultaneous decision making, right? And so they again break this down into three subcategories. And so they want to talk about what is the relevance of the actors themselves, what is the relationship between the problem and the potential solution, or even if there is one, as we've discussed. And then finally, what is the content, right? What is the ambition of the policymakers? What does the framing look like? And then what are the data? What are the sort of facts of the case? Okay, this is where they break down sort of what are the four models that these foundational theoretical models for how we should even try to understand policymaking, right? And they say there's two really that are pretty accepted by the field, right? These are some of the early models. You have the phase models, right? This is that 5-step program we've been talking about, from like recognize the problem, put together info, have a debate, and then write a policy. And, 5 steps, they're clearly demarcated. They happen in a linear temporal fashion, right? So that's the phase model. That's like the original structure for this subgenre. Second, you have the stream model. And this is basically the idea that you have three concurrent streams all sort of weaving together sometimes, right? So you have the problem stream, the policies and solutions stream, and then the politics and the actors or participants, as they call them, that stream. Um, and then, so those are the first two. Those are generally accepted by the field. The second is quite different from the first, but it still takes a lot of cues from the first, right? The newer approaches, we have what's called the round model, right? This is going to be the third one. And this is like Dungeons and Dragons, basically. I don't know if any of you have ever played, but like decision making occurs in individualized rounds, right? And there's a battle in that round, and it will establish sort of the baseline for the next round, right? As to how the first round came out. And then we move to the second round, maybe the actors shift, who knows? We have a baseline where we start from, and then we battle it out again, round two, right? And so this, in many senses, can touch on like diplomacy. And so, this week we had, I guess it looks like we had one round with sort of the Trump administration and Iran in Pakistan. And so usually there would be another round, right? But in like ceasefires, it can work this way, right? So if we're thinking, I don't know, civil war in Africa, right? The two sides will come together with like embassy leaders and ambassadors and other state leaders. Um, they'll negotiate, they'll call a ceasefire, but that doesn't mean the war's over, right? That means we're going to pause so we can have more rounds of discussion, right? It's the same with like the Abraham Accords, where the Trump administration, for many years, I think even going back to his first term, has been trying to piece together some sort of agreement in the Middle East, right? Because there's a lot of pressure there, right? There's Israel and Palestine, there's Iran, and the Sunni Shia split in Islam. There's some countries that have wealth because of resources, while others do not. There's all these things, right? And so it's not as easy as they're just all sort of quote unquote Arab countries or whatever. And so we have seen multiple rounds over and over, and we've gotten some movement in that segment, right? And then I'll also point to the Oslo Accords. They didn't end up fixing the sort of Israel-Palestine issues, right? But they came close, and there were multiple rounds, and you can sort of see how these things play out in real life, right? Okay. The final round is the tracks model, right? And this is sort of figure 23.1 is beautiful. We talk about graphics, right? This really helps you to conceptualize how these things work. And so the track model sort of almost throws it all together, right? There's rounds, while all of these different sort of segments of policymaking are going on all at once, right? What was it? The politics, the problems, and the sort of solutions streams going. And so, yeah, they're just trying to sort of build on all of these things. And so you have the linearity of one and two to the rounds concept of three. Um, yeah. Okay. Section 23.2, concepts within and principles of the phase model. I'm going to skip over these because they beautifully sort of show how they play out. I would say just look at these models if you're interested in how this works. But this is a really great overview of sort of theoretical, bigger picture discussions, and we should think critically about how policy is made, and is it in this sort of linear, step-by-step process, right? Because I think that's a little bit of a minimalist perspective, right? Like there are a lot of different feedbacks. Um, I don't know, citizen input matters. There are rounds of negotiations, right? Like this is why we schedule things like subcommittee meetings to discuss a topic more than once. And so, yeah, it's an interesting approach in trying to build on some of the good stuff that we have from the past, from like the phase model, but also trying to update some of the criticisms, right? Okay, that's going to be it for this one. I'll get the final one up in a minute. Have a great day.